If I can get a minute response from each individual person, I'll go from Layla first and then go back round. Layla, just a minute response. Why do you feel a certain emotional? Why do you have to even turn off your emotions when you're watching Chris and Paige? Just a minute response. What would you say to that?
I think any woman who is honest with themselves has had at least a moment of being a Paige. I've had many moments strung together over a long period
I
of
hear you.
time. So I've been Paige. I understand. And my situation was not as acute as hers, but I see that there's a lot of pride there. There's a lot of, she jumped out the window doing something crazy, like going on TV to find a husband and a stranger, and she doesn't want to let go. I understand that stubbornness. I understand that pride. I understand that low self esteem that you've masked with material accomplishments that actually really won't save you. So, I think we all see a glimpse or a reflection of either our past selves or another person we've loved, and we want to save her. And we also see in Chris a person who's done us or a loved one extremely dirty with no remorse, and we want to hurt him. So, you
Mm.
know.
She ended it like that. I love that. Maria, what is your what why do you feel emotions when you watch this show? Why do you have to turn off your emotions when you watch this show?
Because similar to what Layla said, like there's extreme pain that I associate with what Paige is going through. And I learned that earlier on in life. Like, thank God that it was, not as crazy as what Paige went through, but I feel so sorry for Paige because I feel like, to be this age and still kind of like being kind of like dumb in your thinking of like thinking that this is the way to go. I'm like, girl, you have a long way to go of growth that needs to take place. And I'm just, and I don't know her family dynamics and all of that, but I just really want to
Mhm.
understand what relationship she had with her father. Because one thing I'll say about my father is he did a really good job at instilling self worth into me. My dad used to take me on dates when I was a little girl.
I see why you want four man now. I understand.
You see what I'm saying?
I hear you.
Like my dad literally intentionally set the bar really high so
Mm.
that when I am now entering in the dating world, I'm looking for where's the chivalry? Like, where's your leadership, the manliness, all that,
Mm.
and if she never experienced that, it's a sad thing. I
Mm.
feel really bad for her and my heart goes out to her. Like, you know, it's very easy to look at her and judge her, but it's like it's really sad and I really hope that she can experience true love one day and not just from a romantic situation because I think she needs to feel like unconditional platonic love first, like a father's love or a brother's love or something like that where it's really nurturing and really uplifting and edifying, and then she can go into the dating world with a sense of I deserve the best. I deserve to be protected. I deserve someone to care about my feelings. You know, I deserve someone to want to be in my presence. Yeah. I come from a place of like extreme sorrow. I'm an empath. That stems from like my sensitivity from a young age. Like
Mm.
I feel what she's feeling, even though I'm not feeling it. It's like my heart is broken for her.
Mm.
So I know that when she finally wakes up and realizes like what's going on. She's gonna cry so hard. I'm sure she's been crying throughout this whole process, but
Mm.
it's all
A
gonna
different
come.
cry
Yeah,
when you see it.
it's gonna come out of her pores. Like
Mm.
she's gonna need some time. Like going back to work thing, girl, take that medical leave. Like you need a
Mm.
good month or two. Like decompress, girl, because that
I
ain't
got
that
some
ain't.
medical leave.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
So
I appreciate
that's
it.
me.
Adge, give us your minute answer. What's your? Why do you have to turn off your feelings, or why do you have to turn them off? What do you feel?
So it's three part, and it is going to be quick. First is because they're black. Let's be honest,
Okay.
okay? Because they are black. They are my people, and I want my people to win. And when I see it, it breaks my heart. But just in that same thread, because they are black, as a black community, we struggle from daddylessness. And this is what happens when you have a daddyless daughter and a daddyless son. And your
Mm.
father can still be there and not be there. And so
Mm.
this creates toxic femininity and toxic masculinity. And those two are clashing. And because it is such a convoluted just mess, each one of us sees a little part of ourselves in them. They are poster children for just the mess that our community has created. And that's the reason why, even if it's not one sector of it, you see something that is toxic about these people that resonates with you. But it's because they're black and it's because we struggle with daddylessness. So.
Wow. Bars. I'll come to you in the end, Dave. Anu, um, why do you have to turn on or turn off your emotions when you're watching, particularly this part with Chris and Paige?
I mean, to build off the other speakers, I think it's like the relationship immaturity of them. It's like I mean, as a black community, you want what's best for us. And it's just like this being shown on TV, like Angela says, it's just like, it's not a good representation of black men out there. There are guys who aren't like Chris, who actually have good intentions and want to be there, and they're not being chosen or they're being looked over. And I kind of feel like that's the thing, is how easy it is for us just to see how Chris just doesn't meet the standards of what we would idealize what a good husband or a black husband should be. He's just the, if you want, he's immature, he's acting very childish, he's worried about himself, he's not putting someone else's first. And it's just like at some point, it's just like for guys who aren't like Chris, you're making it harder for them to actually be themselves when they see that being themselves doesn't work and being like Chris does.
Appreciate Anu. Candice.
I agree with everybody that's spoken. Those are my main reasons for shutting off my emotions. But then there's also the other piece of me being a Christian. And I am so disappointed that Paige keeps throwing God out there as if God is just agreeing to all the craziness that's going on. I just feel like that's giving such a horrible view of what God's love truly is. Because God loves us enough to not want us to go through a lot of pain that we put on ourselves. Like God wants to snatch us out, but Paige is hanging on to Chris as tight as she can. And I feel like people that are not Christians are just being like, yep, that's what I thought they were like. Those crazy God people, and it's just, I'm just embarrassed. That's why I have to cut off my emotions sometimes, because I get so embarrassed of how she keeps throwing God's name out there in this craziness.
Appreciate Candice. I'll say a little piece and then I'll give it to David to also give us a little piece as well. I think watching Paige and Chris kind of takes me back to being younger, because I think when you're younger as a male, I don't think you're appreciative of how toxic the behavior is from someone like Chris. I think for a lot of us men, we look at it as he's just game playing. He's out here just doing his thing. He's slinging his thing around, bruh. Like, you may not always agree with what your boy is doing, but it's like, oh, he's just playing girls. It's up to them if they want to be with him. Do you know what I mean? But when you get older, I think watching Chris and Paige, I think you get a deeper revelation and understanding of how damaging this behavior is. Right? Because I remember situations when we were younger and I'll see some guys and I'll be like, I'll know the girl, and I'll be like, that girl's a really good girl, like, and I'll be like, but why are you still in this situation? You can see that my man's cheating on you 3-4 times, bro. He's now on his fifth strike. You know what I'm saying? Like, why are we here, darling? But you don't appreciate how much damage that actions that the guy is doing, how much damage it does to the woman when she's now growing. And I think watching Chris and Paige, I think it's disheartening to see someone who's grown, not even in their teens, but now grown and is going through this situation and also can't see better for themselves. It's almost like you're banging on the screen to say, can't you see what I'm seeing, like, sis? You know what I mean? So I think for me, it's a bit disheartening in the sense of you never want someone to go through that because you know the scars are about to be mad. After this, like you guys have said, she's going to cry because you've not only been dashed off by a man, but you've been dashed off in marriage and you've been dashed off on TV. So now all of us have seen it. Now you don't even know if we're pitying you or we genuinely have we actually sad for you. I don't know how that must feel like going, like you guys talked about work. I'm talking about you going down the street. And not only that, other men, predators now, are seeing the fact that another predator did that to you. You actually invite more predators because they see that, okay, if one guy can do it to you, we can all do it to you. Do you see? So it's even more scary for her. I just need her to be insulated and safe, man. So, you know, yeah, it's kind of triggering in that respect. David, the question we're asking is right now, why do you have to, why do you have feelings watching? Why does it elicit feelings watching Chris and Paige on the screen? Or why do you have to turn off your feelings watching Chris and Paige? Your sentiments. Good to see you on the show as well, always, David.
What's up, guys? How you
We're
doing?
good, man.
I think for me personally, in order to be able to empathize with someone else, I have to understand. Like, I have to be able to wrap my head around their perspective and the way they see the world, right? And from what I understand, Paige has very strong convictions. However, she's also very smart. At no point of this, I believe, has she seen anything that that she hasn't been able to recognize, and she understands, okay, like she knows what's going on, but she's allowed herself to have so much patience that she's allowed him to play in her face, right? So we see what's going on, she sees what's going on, and she's allowed it to go this far. And if it weren't on TV, it would even go further, right? So I think that was the most frustrating part for myself, being able to see someone who is cognizant of all the workings and the things that are going on behind the scenes and what he's trying to do and how he's trying to play her, and yet she's still playing along, right? For me, at first it was frustration, but at a certain point, I can't be frustrated anymore because it's different if you don't know, right? Because then I can try to have more patience. Somebody can teach you. Somebody can be able to extend some type of grace. But if you understand what's going on and you're still playing along, my frustration then turns into indifference because now it's like, okay, there's nothing new that anyone can add here. It's not like anybody's going to be telling you something that you don't already know. So for me, that's when, like, by the second episode, it turned into indifference because I could not actually invest anymore when I see that someone actually has the knowledge and the wisdom to exit, right? And they choose not to for one reason or another, whether it be desperation or conviction, whatever it is. If you are choosing to engage, then that's up to you. You're a grown person, right? And I don't think I've said anything that's brand new. Like, I'm basically repeating in some ways what everyone else has already said. Like, we resonate with each of these people in some type of way. Like, we recognize them in people in our own lives. So when we see it happening again on the big screen, it's just like, okay, this is a terrible representation. Even though some parts of it is true, we just don't want to have to see that because we don't want to associate with those people usually in our own lives. But now it's being magnified on screen, and that's just like frustrating on its own, but then also heartbreaking because it's like we don't want this to happen, yet if people choose to engage, you can't force anybody to not engage.